I used to sit quietly at family meetings, listening while my brother spoke loudly about success. He always arrived first at the table when money was discussed. He dressed sharper than before, spoke faster, and leaned back like ownership was already stamped in his name. When he glanced at me, there was that familiar smirk, the one that said I had chosen stability while he had chosen ambition. "Some people stay safe," he said once, tapping the contract file in front of him. "Others actually build wealth." Family members laughed softly. I did not react. I worked as a secretary in a firm that handled financial documentation for small businesses. It was not glamorous. It was detailed work. Files, signatures, transaction records, audit trails. My brother saw the title and assumed it meant insignificance. What he never understood was access. Months before this signing table confrontation, I had noticed irregular entries in the company account he managed under our joint investment agreement. Transfers labeled as expenses but routed to personal holdings. Payments moving through secondary accounts. Small adjustments that looked harmless if no one checked carefully. I checked. Not out of suspicion at first, but responsibility. Our names were tied legally. His confidence depended on my quiet approval. When I requested the official audit documents from the bank, I did it casually. When I archived copies of transaction trails, I did it as routine compliance work. When I asked questions about unexplained withdrawals, he dismissed them as temporary adjustments. He never realized I was collecting confirmations, timestamps, and digital authorization logs. The day he announced, loudly, that he was becoming the primary decision maker for our shared assets, he demanded a formal signing. The room gathered. A printed agreement lay on the table, restructuring control in his favor. He pushed it toward me without hesitation. "I'm expanding," he said, "and I can't operate with unnecessary restrictions." His eyes met mine. He believed I would sign. He believed my role was administrative, to approve, to record, to obey. I scanned the document slowly. The signature lines were bold. The language favored control consolidation. It ignored the oversight clauses that had protected transparency. He leaned closer. "Don't overthink it. You're good at paperwork. Just sign." I smiled, not out of anger, not out of excitement, but because the final verification email from the bank had arrived minutes before the meeting. I had flagged the irregular transfers weeks earlier. The compliance department investigated quietly after receiving documentation from my side. They cross-checked the accounts, traced the funds, and identified unauthorized reclassification of company money into private holdings. The findings triggered automatic restrictions. I placed the unsigned contract back on the table. "Actually," I said calmly, "you're already under review." Confusion flickered across his face. Before he could respond, the conference room door opened. Two representatives from the financial institution entered with printed reports and official identification. An audit supervisor followed. Their presence shifted the atmosphere instantly. The senior representative spoke clearly. "Based on submitted documentation and verified transaction discrepancies, we have temporarily frozen access to the primary account and secondary linked assets pending investigation." Silence. My brother stared at the report as if the words refused to register. Frozen. Access restricted. Authorization suspended. He turned toward me slowly. "What did you do?" The question sounded less like accusation and more like realization. "I documented," I replied. The representative continued, pointing to highlighted entries. "Multiple transfers were redirected without proper dual authorization. The restructuring agreement you proposed cannot proceed until compliance clears these records." The authority was not emotional. It was procedural, unquestionable, uncontestable. My brother attempted to explain, claiming temporary accounting strategies, claiming misunderstanding, claiming operational necessity. His voice rose, then cracked when the representative calmly responded that all actions had digital timestamps and signed trails. Facts replaced argument. Power shifted in minutes. Family members who had earlier admired his confidence now watched quietly as the control he assumed dissolved through documented evidence. He looked at me again, this time without mockery, only shock. "You planned this?" he whispered. "No," I said. "You created the record. I only preserved it." The representatives collected signatures confirming temporary enforcement of restrictions. They sealed the documents and informed everyone that further financial movement required compliance approval. The signing table that once symbolized his dominance now displayed a different reality. Control did not belong to the loudest voice. It belonged to verified information. He stood there as access to his accounts became locked on the system dashboard projected by the representative. No dramatic confrontation followed. No shouting. Just system notifications. He lost authority not because I attacked, but because documentation exposed instability. When the officials left, the room felt heavier than before. He did not apologize. He did not accuse again. He simply gathered the papers slowly and walked away without the confidence he had carried in. I remained seated. I did not celebrate. The leverage I used was not revenge, it was transparency enforced at the right moment. Power had shifted. Quietly, irreversibly for now. The relationship between us did not disappear, but it changed. He now understood that dismissing someone because of a title can be dangerous when that title holds the records that define control. The silence after authority intervened was louder than any argument we had ever had. Should I refine it further or adjust tone?